The opponent sends out the stupid tin can, aka Registeel, in the Zero Shield versus Channel mascot Drapion. We fire off the crunch, we get the defense drop. The opponent will be returning fire with the Zap Cannon, hoping for the debuff, but the RNG gods say, not today, trainer. Drapion now over farms, fires off one further crunch. This will be getting Registeel down below half health. Drapion then over farms, fires off the next crunch on the CMP tie, and Drapion says, get that Registeel out of here. Welcome back to the channel. Ultra League is back, and I am so hyped as it is my favourite league, and we're going to be taking a look at my favourite team. It's going to be an anti-ground with 2 dark poisons in the back. This is going to be the first time I've personally used counter Poliwrath with this team comp. I did use this with Mudshot Poliwrath over 2 years ago. If you're a fan of ABB teams, then this strategy is without a doubt one of the strongest you can use. I've used this team with various leads. We've used Hitmonchan, Hitmontop, Shadow Machamp, Swampert, you name it, we've tried it. But today we're going to use the strongest of them all, Shadow Poliwrath. The concept of the team is quite simple. We're going to use Drapion to bait out the potential ground type or steel type, as dark poisons do also struggle against steel. Stuff like Cobalion can be a problem, although of course Skuntank does have that flamethrower coverage. If we don't see the ground or steel type in the lead, we're going to switch out into Drapion, draw it out, kill it with Poliwrath, and use Skuntank to sweep the back line. Without any further ado, let's jump into the battles. And in game 1, we lead Poliwrath into Giratina. Despite them being a ghost and us being a fighter, this is a pretty neutral matchup due to that Icy Wind coverage. We tank the Dragon Claw return fire with the Icy Wind. The opponent throw the next Dragon Claw, and it's time to say switch. We switch out into Drapion. The opponent build up some energy and then send out Pidgeot. Well behind on energy. The opponent not going to appreciate this energy. We fire off the first crunch. The opponent shields the first, but Drapion so spammy. Already at the next crunch, and we got the defense drop this second crunch. Actually forces the opponent's final shield, and we get a second defense drop. Let's go. The opponent try their luck at baiting a shield with the Feather Dance, and I do not respect anything. Drapion fires off the next crunch. Feather Dance does debuff our attack by 2 stages, but we got a double defense drop. We even got a third, which is ridiculous. The opponent throw one further Feather Dance, and with a 3-stage lowered defense, I switch out into Skuntank, not allowing any free farm. We poison jab farm all the way down. The opponent sends out Giratina, fire off the Dragon Claw. I've got 2 shields, but I still don't need to shield. We then over farm, fire off the crunch on the CMP tie. Get that Giratina out of here. The opponent's final Pokemon is Tapu Fini, and Skuntank still not done. Able to reach one further crunch, which is resisted, but still gets this Tapu Fini down to around half health. The opponent looking for the full water gun farm down, but Skuntank refuses to die, fires off the crunch, and we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the Dream lead. The opponent say switches into Dragon Breath Giratina, and we again answer with Drapion. The Dragon Breath variant can actually take this matchup in the 2 shield. However, when shields are down, Skuntank will obliterate that stupid Hedgehog. The opponent fire off the Dragon Claw. We're going to play the game, which I like to call you shield, I'll shield. We over farm, fire off the crunch on the CMP tie. The opponent put up that protect shield, and we're going to match. When I see a Dragon Breath Giratina on the say switch, I don't actually really care about switch. What I do care about is forcing both protect shields. The opponent definitely needs to flip switch. They're likely going to put up the shield. If the switch timer pops up, rather than give them a load of free energy, I switch out into Skuntank. It takes Giratina the equivalent of 6 poison jabs to each Dragon Claw. So we're going to throw 6 poison jabs and the crunch. The opponent give up switch, send back out Sonic, sacrificing it to their Pokegods. Sonic straight in and straight out. Back out comes Giratina. I've seen this team before. In the back, I believe it's going to be Tapu Fini. I'm not interested in shielding this up, as Poliwrath up a protect shield can win this. The Dragon Claw actually doesn't take us out again. Skuntank refuses to die, fires off the crunch. Crunch secures the knockout, and of course it's Tapu Fini in the back. So you've got to start recognising common teams, and this is a very common team comp. This is why I saved my protect shield, as Poliwrath up a protect shield does quite well against Tapu Fini. Even if the opponent bait me, I don't really care. I'm just going to shield whatever they throw. It's likely a bait, but there's no need to flex. My elo is in shambles, and I want to climb. We shield up the surf. We're going to reach one further Scald. I was thinking about looking to make a catch. However, as we save Drapion, there's no point whatsoever. We can just allow the opponent to take me out with the Moonblast. One Poison Sting is going to be all she wrote, and we're going to take that game. In the next battle, we see Poliwrath into Giratina. So in case you're wondering why I don't instantly go to Drapion, Skuntank doesn't have the best matchup against Giratina due to our poison jabs being resisted and us being quite slow to charge moves. So we actually need this Icy Wind chip damage, so I stay in, fire off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind lands, we've already tanked one Dragon Claw. I'm going to attempt to catch the next Dragon Claw onto Drapion, however the opponent hold their energy, build up a boatload of energy and send out Cobalion. I think this is why Matt Beer recommends Aqua Tails. You can hit for neutral, however it is what it is. I much prefer that nuke of Sludge Bomb. We're just going to go straight crunch all the way, and despite it being resisted, we do manage to get off some valuable chip damage against this Cobalion. As the opponent spotted us a huge energy lead as well, we're going to get off so many crunches. I'm going to fire off the next crunch, not at the best timing, but I just want to get this thing as low as possible. I only threw 2, which is suboptimal, but you can see the opponent already in the red, and they're going to be unable to double kick farm us down. The opponent fire off one further Sacred Sword, securing the knockout. We send back out Poliwrath. We are not in Sacred Sword range yet, so I'm not going to shield this up, and I'm hoping I can counter farm down before the next move. Poliwrath does get the counter farm down. We leave with the Icy Wind locked and loaded. I'm looking top right, back out. Comes Giratina, and we go straight for the Icy Wind. Icy Wind forces a Protect Shield. Poliwrath is quite low, so we're going to put all our hopes and dreams on the back of 2 Shield Skunk. Dragon Claw secures a knockout. I send out Skunk. The opponent resets their debuff and sends out the stupid Tin Can. We go straight for the Flamethrower, which does around half the opponent's HP. They invest a Protect Shield, recognising I'm unlikely to bait the first move. Of course, at this stage, I'm going to start shielding. The opponent fires off a Zap Cannon. We see no attack drop. Thank you so much. You're going to see how much a non-debuff Flamethrower does. Flamethrower doesn't get the same type of attack bonus, but Skuntank hits so hard. Again, the opponent is going to fire off the Zap Cannon, and of course I'm going to invest my final Protect Shield. We just got to be mindful the opponent might look to make a catch. We build up to the Flamethrower, the opponent's counting on point, however I anticipate the catch. Don't throw, we're just now going to overfarm. Get to 100 energy, 1 crunch will be taken care of Giratina, and Flamethrower will be vanquishing Registeel back to their Pokeball. We're at 100 energy, it's going to be hi Giratina, bye Giratina. Skuntank says feed me that Registeel, back out comes the silly Tin Can, and get that Tin Can out of here, and we take that game. Oof, tough lead. Definitely not what Poliwrath wants to see. To be honest, Poliwrath's being hunted. It's a good Pokemon, but there's plenty of counters for it. The opponent attempts to catch a crunch onto Greninja, I hold my energy, and this is why we run Sludge Bomb, as Sludge Bomb lands for heavy neutral damage. Despite my Drapion being a hundo, having dreadful PvP IVs, we're not in Hydro Cannon range. We withstand the damage, throw 1 Poison Sting and the crunch for optimal fast move timing, and the opponent's either going to lose switch or put up a Protect Shield. The opponent does put up that Protect Shield, and this is where my hundo lets me down. Unfortunately, we do get Water Shriek and farm down. We can send in Poliwrath, absorb the energy, and then we've got Skuntank up a Protect Shield for the end game once again. Poliwrath, even as a shadow, pretty bulky. We tank the damage, pivot out into Skuntank. The opponent stays in, looking to chip and dip, and I think this is a huge mistake. Defense Deoxys hits like a wet noodle. I shield up the Thunderbolt, and you're going to see why I needed to save that Protect Shield, as again it's Registeel. We're going to fire off the Flamethrower. Again, the opponent shields the first move. Unlike the last battle, this time we've only got 1 Protect Shield, 2 high behind, and of course I'm going to have to shield up the Zap Cannon. We don't get debuffed, however this is still looking so tricky. We're going to fire off the Flamethrower, which is going to get them below half health. However, how am I going to get rid of Defense Deoxys? Switch Timer does pop up. We make the catch back onto Poliwrath. I'm not sure if that's the correct play, as Zap Cannon will be one-shot and we send back out Skuntank again. I'm going to anticipate the opponent looking to make that catch. The opponent continues to stay in, so I'm forced to throw. We fire off the Flamethrower. Flamethrower secures the knockout, back out. Comes Deoxys, we're going to make the crunch. But is crunch going to be enough? 2 knockout, crunch gets the opponent incredibly low. Can we get the poison jab farm down? We cannot. Can Skuntank survive the charge move? Thunderbolt, unfortunately, secures the knockout, and we take a heartbreaking loss. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see a bit of a core breaker in the form of Gliscor. You're going to see I'm going to build to 7, pause a turn. Unless I see the wing attack animation, I'm not going to throw the Icy Wind, and it's a good job I didn't, as the opponent save switches into Tapu Fini. I decide to answer with Drapion. We go straight for the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb lands for huge damage. Unfortunately, the opponent does reach the Moonblast, so we are going to respect it with a Protect Shield. The opponent, of course, full send is only going to reach 1 move. When Gliscor does return, Drapion will get off some valuable chip damage back out. Comes Gliscor, they've now got the energy for the Earthquake. We fire off the crunch lands for big damage. I've got no intention of shielding this. The opponent likely doesn't bait. As they're up a Protect Shield, they full send the Earthquake, securing the knockout back out. Comes Poliwrath, and we fire off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind should be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, which it does. And it's going to all be about what the opponent's second move is. It looks like they've got Night Slash. As they don't throw the Aerial Ace, we fire off the next Icy Wind. Icy Wind secures the knockout. The opponent sends out Tentacruel, and we answer with Skunk. This is a pretty neutral matchup, however they do far out bulk us. The opponent fire off the Scald. We again don't get an attack drop, I'll be honest. When I played these battles, I think this was Niantic's way of saying, welcome back to the game, buddy. It's been a while. I took like 8 days off or something over the Christmas New Year period. And I think my RNG luck was ridiculous. Scald has a 50% chance to lower my attack, which the opponent didn't get. Crunch has a 30% chance to lower the opponent's defense, and we got it 2 for 2. You can see there I didn't shield. If I would have shielded up an Acid Spray, got Poison Jab farm down, Poliwrath would have got outpaced. Instead, I choose to save my Protect Shield. We then shield up the Acid Spray, counter farm down, and take that game. In the next battle, we see another Giratina, so you know the drill. We're going to throw the Icy Wind, look to get some chip damage, and pivot into Drapion. The opponent fire off the Dragon Claw. Poliwrath doesn't give a shit about pathetic Giratina's attack stat. We easily survive the damage, return fire with the Icy Wind. Icy Wind lands. We're going to attempt to catch onto Drapion, but it's actually a simul swap, and we definitely come off better. Again, this is why we run Sludge Bomb. Does the opponent respect the damage? Sludge Bomb goes unshielded. And get wrecked, Tapu Fini. We can now shield up the incoming Moonblast, commit to the Poison Sting farm down, and the opponent is very unlikely to return with Giratina as we've got so much energy. If they return with Giratina, they could actually have a double fairy team. The opponent, to my surprise, does send out Giratina, and Giratina is going to be forced to start shielding. We tank the Dragon Claw. We're going to farm up to the back-to-back crunches. Crunch does around half the health, so this will be lethal. The first crunch goes unshielded. The opponent's final Pokemon is Poliwrath, and Poliwrath is also going to be greeted with a Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb, force to Protect Shield, and we send back out our own Poliwrath. As this is the opponent's final Pokemon, we go straight for the Icy Wind, which guarantees the debuff rather than that 50% chance, as the opponent's going to be unable to reset it. This also forces the opponent to throw. They're actually going to have to Scald to secure the knockout. The opponent go for the correct play, full send in the Scald. However, we've got Skuntank in the 1-to-1 shield with a huge health advantage. We wait our clock, send out Skunk. I guess at this stage, we're just going to shield up the first move, which is likely an Icy Wind. The opponent, to my surprise, full send the Scald, and they get the attack drop. We're going to fire off the Crunch, fishing for that defense drop. The opponent's going to be forced to shield everything. Again, we get the defense drop, and then stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We catch back onto Drapion, and that is going to seal the deal. As I had no Protect Shields remaining, of course, the opponent is going to send the Skull. We send back out Skuntank, Poison Jab farm down, and take that game. In the next battle, we see the Mirror Lead. My Shadow Poliwrath is very highly ranked. I think it's a 0-14-14. I'll post the IVs down below in the pinned comment, but it's very highly ranked, so I'm likely to lose CMP. So always take the extra and then pivot into Drapion. The opponent goes straight for the Icy Wind. We're going to overfarm in this matchup, and when we want to throw the Sludge Bomb, we're going to pause a turn, ensuring the opponent doesn't catch on something that resists poison. The opponent send out Crobat. It's actually a Shadow Crobat, so despite us being debuffed, this Crunch still lands for decent damage, and Drapion still not done. Able to reach one further Crunch, which gets Crobat down deep into the red. The opponent is going to get the full wing attack farm down. Of course, we don't want to return with Poliwrath. We can send out a Skuntank. We do resist all moves in Crobat's arsenal, so we're just going to commit to the Poison Jab farm down and tank whatever the opponent throw. They fire off the Poison Fang. Skuntank looking for the Poison Jab farm down, and we get it. The opponent sends back out their own Poliwrath. We're going to fire off the Crunch. Crunch, of course, is resisted, but will get the opponent low. The opponent shield it up. We then send out Poliwrath, go straight for the Scald. Is the opponent willing to invest their final Protect Shield? No, they're not. The opponent's final Pokemon is their own Shadow Charizard. We fire off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind is going to force the debuff effect on the opponent. The opponent chooses not to shield, and as they've got triple shadows, we could just Poison Jab farm all the way down, but respect to this trainer. We're just going to save 2 shields for next season and give them the win. I know a lot of people aren't keen on that, but respect to that trainer, and I love triple shadows. You deserve it, buddy. Good luck on your season. In the next battle, we see another Defense Deoxys in the lead with a Greninja save switch. The last time I saw this team comp, I did lose as I shielded up a Thunderbolt rather than save 2 shields for Skuntank, so I need to be mindful and make some adjustments. However, this battle is playing out different as this opponent chooses to shield up the Sludge Bomb, and that works for me. Not only do we get early shield advantage, we get a huge counter farm down and we can force a debuff on the return and Defense Deoxys. Of course, we're going to no-shield whatever Greninja throws. They're going to fire off a couple of Hydro Cannons. The first one doesn't do too much. They are going to make one further, but Poliwrath really doesn't care. To be honest, I say that. We're going to be below half health, but it is what it is. We do leave with a charge move. Back out comes Defense Deoxys. I know they're not going to shield this, so I actually opt to throw the Scald. Hopefully putting this thing into Crunch range. We do get the attack drop. This time it isn't Registeel. It is something we need 2 shields for, as this Squirrel is so spammy. Back in the day, our dark poisons used to be very good against this Squirrel, as it used to run Bullet Seed. Now it's got Mud Shot. It's turned from a good matchup to a dreadful one. We fire off the Crunch, we get the defense drop. I'm looking at the health. Can I 2-shield and Poison Jab farm all the way down? Fuck it, we're going to go for it. We need 4 Poison Jabs to knock out the Squirrel. 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go. Skuntank leaves almost at the back-to-back crunches. You know the drill. The first crunch will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. We bank the crunch, send out Poliwrath. We get off some counter damage, which is going to put them into crunch range. The opponent fire off the Psycho Boost, securing the knockout. We send back out Skunk, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadow Crime, the battle of the water types. This is definitely where the team wants to see Swampert. I always go straight for the Icy Wind in this matchup, because I never shield the first move in case the opponent bait, and even if they force in an Earthquake with a debuff, we will survive it, but either way it's going to hurt. The opponent overfarmed, it smells like a bait, the opponent masturbate like a potato, and we do not shield baits in this household. This is now enough for the Earthquakes. We're going to invest the protection. We correctly shield the Earthquake, which is going to allow us to get the full counter farm down. We play out the 1 shield and leave a whole heap of energy. The opponent send out Venusaur. We're going to fire off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind, force the Protect Shield, and of course lowers the opponent's attack. We pivot out into Drapion, drawing out Registeel, and this game is just over. We're just going to use the super spammy Drapion to do as much damage as possible, save our Protect Shield for Skunk, and there's nothing the opponent can do. We're able to fire off 2 crunches before the opponent even reaches a charge move, getting this tin can below half health. The opponent fire off the Zap. This opponent does get the debuff, which of course I can't complain about, as they haven't got all that many. Drapion still not done, able to reach 1 further crunch, and despite us being debuffed, this is going to get him into the red. The opponent actually opt to fire off a charge move. They actually fire it as soon as they get it, so they're now energy dry, so Poliwrath is going to be able to come in, get the counter farm down. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down, send back out Venusaur. We greet him with the Icy Wind, we show him the Skuntank, and the opponent's going to concede in 3, 2, 1. GG's, and thanks for playing. Oh, hello, old friend. Nice to see you nice, Trevenant. We're going to count to 6, look to catch the Seed Bomb onto Drapion, and this opponent doesn't disappoint, spamming the move as soon as they get it. Seed Bomb does absolutely nothing. The opponent now answers my Drapion safe switch with Obstagoon. Again, another matchup where Sludge Bomb is very helpful, as Sludge Bomb does around 45% of the opponent's HP. They build to 6. This is likely an Obstruct. Points to note, if they've got Obstruct, they definitely aren't running Hyper Beam or Gunk Shot, which means Poliwrath has nothing to fear. Well, I say that, perhaps some mad lad is running Obstruct and Hyper Beam, but I've personally never seen it. The opponent does leave it 11 counters. It's 12 for the first Hyper Beams. At worst, this is a Gunk Shot, but really I doubt they've got it. The opponent fire off the Obstruct. We withstand the damage. The opponent sends back out Trevenant. We're going to fire off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind hits for super effective, forcing a Protect Shield, and can we go 2 for 2 on catches? We attempt to make the catch. The opponent isn't that stupid and send out Porygon. Holy, what spice. Despite me having 2 protections, I've already decided that I'm saving my shields for Poliwrath. The opponent fire off the Tri-Attack, and holy, that fucking thing hits hard. We fire off the Crunch. Crunch goes unshielded. Porygon evidently not that bulky. The opponent continues to overfarm, allowing me to make 1 further Crunch. Crunch goes unshielded. The opponent's not going to be able to Shadow Claw, farm me down, so they're going to be forced to throw a charge move, and this should just be game over. Seed Bomb will be secure on the knockout, but the issue for Trevenant is they're going to be forced to try and reach 3 Seed Bombs, and Poliwrath has residual energy good to go. We go for the Icy Wind, which will be lowering the Shadow Claw damage. The opponent isn't going to Shadow Claw farm us down, although that probably would be their win con, or perhaps we're having a heart attack. They throw the first Seed Bomb, of course we shield. The opponent going to fire off the next Seed Bomb. We're also going to shield that, and Poliwrath is going to be a Trevenant counter confirmed. You heard it here first. Icy Wind's locked. It's loaded. Hi Trevenant, bye Trevenant. Get fucking wrecked. Moving on to the next one. Alolan Ninetales, fast move check, we throw 1 counter, seaosn charms, we pivot into Drapion, and the opponent responds with Poliwrath. Not fantastic, but Sludge Bomb is the way to go. You can see it does land for heavy neutral damage. 2 Sludge Bombs with the Poison Stings would be lethal, as long as the opponent doesn't get a debuff. The opponent fire off the Icy Wind, which of course does lower our attack, so this Sludge Bomb now won't be lethal, and if the opponent's smart, they won't shield as it isn't lethal. The opponent making all the right plays and get a very nice counter farm down. They also leave minimal farm for my Poliwrath and leave with a move. Things are looking dreadful. The opponent fires off the Scald. We don't get the attack drop, but either way I'm going to be forced to pivot. We send out Skuntank. The opponent's final Pokemon is Jellicent. Our Skuntank has so much work to do. I wouldn't usually shield the first Earth, however I'm kind of forced to. So if we don't shield the Surf, despite not being a great move, the opponent could pivot into Alolan Ninetales and go for the tap-tap, charm down, farm down. The opponent actually doesn't shield Jellicent, which I think is a huge mistake. If we would have got the defense drop, I think the opponent could have thrown this game. Again, we're going to shield the Surf. The poison jabs are resisted. I attempt a poison jab farm down, but Jellicent makes one further Surf, which does get us down below half health. Back out comes Ninetales. We're going to throw one poison jab and the crunch for optimal fast move timing. The opponent shield the first. We're going to throw this next one at suboptimal timing, but the opponent lightly shield. We need to hope Poliwrath has enough HP to make the skull. We pivot into Poliwrath, however, the opponent is going to outpace to the side shot, and either way, we're going to take the loss. GG's to that opponent. Losing to a Charmer, you hate to see it. In the next battle, we see Ampharos in the lead. Another yikes lead, we pivot into Drapion, so it takes one turn to switch. We're going to throw the crunch as soon as we get it, which is 11 turns into 12 turns. Crunch force to protect shield, we get another defense drop. I've seen so many Ampharos this season on Thunder Punch, probably because of Poliwrath. I think last season, before Poliwrath was absolutely everywhere, they mostly run Brutal Swing and something like Focus Blast. Another thing I've noticed with Ampharos leads is most of them don't pivot when I say switch into Drapion, meaning Skuntank's pretty good. With that in mind and the defense drop, I'm going to send in Skuntank, go for the one shield and aggressive poison jab farm down. We're going to shield up the Thunder Punch. Can we get the farm down? Skuntank gets the farm down, and holy, we've got a lot of energy. The opponent sends out Squidward. This is a pretty neutral matchup, but we've got so much energy. We fire off the first crunch. Crunch lands. We're then going to overfarm. I'm going to look to catch the skull back onto Poliwrath. The opponent doesn't throw. They build up a boatload of energy. However, opt to throw a charge move. Even if it's a sludge wave, I don't care. The opponent actually go for the skull, getting the attack drop, then look to catch a charge move onto Giratina. And this is looking playable. So if you're wondering why I went for the catch, of course we love to catch, it makes great content, but I recognise they stayed in against Drapion. They're likely very weak to Dark Poison, and they are. The opponent fires off 2 Dragon Claws. We withstand the damage, make one further Icy Wind. As we've got a lowered attack, this Icy Wind doesn't do too much damage, but definitely puts them into crunch range. The opponent recognises they can't Shadow Claw farm down, opt to throw a charge move, and it's all down to Skunk. We send back out Skunk. We throw the crunch. I actually should have thrown one further poison jab to maximise my energy, but it's going to be a race. It's Skuntank versus Tentacruel. Who can reach 2 charge moves first? Of course, we're going to shield up whatever the opponent throw. The opponent throw the skulls. They don't have acid spray, and we're at the back-to-back. We win CMP. So this first crunch will be forcing the opponent's final protect shield. We win CMP and take a very, very close game. GG's to that opponent. A team like that is triple strong against Poliwrath, which I think is quite common. In the next battle, we see Tentacruel in the lead. We say switch into Drapion, drawing out Greedent. Again, Greedent used to be a good matchup. It's now not good, as this spammy squirrel is hitting us for super effective with the mud shots rather than resisted with the bullet seeds. But to be honest, outside of Cobalion, Drapion puts in work against almost anything. You can see we win CMP against this squirrel. The second crunch gets them into the red, and we can easily survive one more body slam. The opponent's also going to be forced to throw us. If they go for the mud shot farm down, we'll make one further crunch. The opponent recognises that and unfortunately throw, which means we don't even take shield advantage. But you can see it's a pretty soft loss. We send back up Poliwrath, get the counter farm down, and it's time to pivot. We send out Skunk behind an energy, but the opponent opt to send out Trevenant. Oof, I think that's a mistake. I have no idea why the opponent didn't just stay in. But either way, we're not complaining. We fire off the crunch. We get the defense drop. We're going to respect the first move, and like a potato, I shield a bait. I say I don't shield baits in this household, but I get baited. It is what it is, though. We do survive any one move, and this opponent continues to throw seed bombs, which is very advantageous for me. The opponent all down one shield. Are they willing to invest their final protect shield? No, they're not. We've now got to try and tag team this full health squid. The opponent is going to be able to outpace me, as they do have residual energy, and I'm going to invest the protect shield. The opponent fire off the Scald. They do get the attack drop, so I think an argument could be made that I should have switched out to reset that before firing off the crunch, but I think I'm fishing for the defense drop. We don't get the defense drop. We do force the opponent's final protect shield. Again, I think I should have banked this move, but it is what it is. I don't think I played this particularly well. But even if the opponent's got Sludge Wave, I think at this stage it's just GG's. The opponent does have Sludge Wave, but Poliwrath, pretty thick. We withstand the damage. Reach one Scald. Scald won't be lethal, but we are going to be able to counter farm down afterwards. And despite me playing not particularly well, I think this is going to be a win. We don't actually get the counter farm down. The opponent fires off the Skull. We withstand the damage and take that game. But I don't think I played that particularly well. In the next battle, Poliwrath into Giratina. Man, do I miss my Alolan Sandslash lead, as this thing is absolutely everywhere. The Dragon Breath variant is a lot more difficult to deal with for this team. You can see the Dragon Breaths and Dragon Claws have already got us down to around 60% health. We fire off the Icy Wind. We then pivot into Drapion and the opponent again respond with Greedent. We've seen this is going to be a soft loss, but worst case scenario, we counter farm down and we're going to outpace Giratina. That will be returning to an Icy Wind. Ultra League is one of the bulkiest leagues you could possibly enter, and this is just two spammy Pokemon spamming out charge moves at one another. We get an early defense drop, fire off the next crunch. You can see we actually get a double defense drop, but I recognise 4 poison stings aren't going to be lethal, so I'm not interested in shielding, but again, the opponent is going to need to throw. The opponent recognised that too late and plays with a CMP tie. They do not win. Shout out Home Size Henry for that quote, and congrats on Shoutcasting Regionals this weekend. The opponent could have outpaced me by a single quick move. Instead, we managed to get ourselves an advantage in the mid game. We come in with Poliwrath, get the counter farm down. As the opponent's on Dragon Breath, if they send back out Giratina, I won't pivot. I'd actually look to get off the Icy Wind instead. The opponent sends out Gelatin and we respond with Skuntank. Again, I am going to start shielding, mindful that the opponent has fast move pressure in the back. We shield up the Surf. We're then going to throw 4 poison jabs and the crunch for optimal fast move time in 2 turns into 3 turns, 1, 4 and 7 all the way. The opponent, to my surprise, didn't shield up that crunch. So we're going to let the next Surf go through again. We're going to throw 4 poison jabs and the crunch. Looking to get Gelatin out of here. And then we've got 2 Pokemon to deal with Giratina. The opponent actually shielded up that move. Gelatin rapidly running out of HP, so we're going to shield up this Surf. I think they're in Poison Jab farm down. The opponent must agree. Pivot now into Giratina. We're able to outpace to the crunch. It's going to be high Giratina, by Giratina. We're then going to pivot out into Poliwrath, and the opponent is going to concede the match. GG's. Poliwrath into G-Weezy. It's a big fat no thank you from me. We pivot into Drapion, and the opponent responds with Swampert. Not great. We fire off the crunch. Crunch lands, getting the defense drop. The opponent's at a potential Earthquake. We're at the crunch. I'm going to no-shield the opponent bait, and that is a huge mistake, as the opponent is now going to be forced to shield up this crunch. They want to maintain alignment. The opponent does shield up the crunch. They do get a huge mud shot farm down. We're very happy to take shield advantage. We send back out Poliwrath. We are going to have to tank an Earthquake, and ouch, that hurt. Poliwrath now gets the full counter farm down, and it's Skuntank time. We pivot into Skuntank. Again, it's Jellicent, so Skuntank looking pretty good to sweep. I had no idea where I wanted to use my shields here. I shielded the first move, anticipating the opponent being on Brutal Swing and Overheat. Back out comes G-Weezy. We full send the Flamethrower. Flamethrower goes unshielded, and we're now in the bait game. Tough decision to make. We're going to call the Brutal Swing bait, and the opponent actually on Play Rough. We survived the Play Rough, and now I think I can one shield, Poison Jab farm all the way down, and hopefully with back-to-back crunches, the opponent throws the Brutal Swing. However, they're not going to reach another charge move. Back out comes Jellicent. We throw 1 poison jab and the crunch. The opponent lets the first one go. We then bank the crunch, pivot into Poliwrath, reach the Icy Wind. Icy Wind won't be lethal, but either way, it's going to leave the opponent incredibly low. The opponent opts to shield that up. The opponent looking to farm up to back-to-back charge moves. But unfortunately for this trainer, you don't win CMP. Shadow Ball secures the knockout. We win the charge move Protivin, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. The Mirror, Shadow versus Shiny. Again, we're going to let the opponent throw a charge move, pivot into Drapion. Have we finally found that Mirror team? When I was using a different team, I saw Poliwrath double Dark Poison a lot. When I ran this team, I didn't see it all that much. Bit strange, but it is what it is. I opt to go straight for the Sludge Bomb, which I think is a bit risky, as the opponent could catch on a potential Steel type. Sludge Bomb goes unshielded, even a Scald won't be lethal. The opponent fires off the Scald. They'll then give me the full Poison Sting farm down, so I don't have to worry about that thing being a sacrificial swap later. And as I say, the opponent could have caught on a Steel type. They actually got Reggie in the back, so a bit risky, but we get away with it. Another thing that isn't great is Reggie gets a huge lock-on farm down. We're going to send back out Poliwrath, and I am going to have to start shielding. The opponent lightly pivots into whatever's their third. They fire off the Zap Cannon. They send out a Charmer. We throw 1 counter and the Scald. Scald goes unshielded, and that is huge for me. The Scald damage is going to allow me to get the full Poison Jab farm down. Back out comes Registeel. I think I could go straight crunch here, but either way, we fire off the Flamethrower. Flamethrower goes unshielded. And it looks like the opponent wants to save 2 shields for next season. We do fire off the crunch, anticipating the opponent just letting this go. They actually opt to shield on the CMP tie. Fine, I guess. We're just wasting my time, your time, and all the viewers' time. Not that I get many viewers, but either way, we take that game. Poliwrath Zygarde. I haven't actually seen too many Zygarde yet, probably because my elo isn't all that good. We're going to count to 7. which is good timing. Throw the double super effective Icy Wind, forcing a Protect Shield. The opponent is staying in. I think this is probably advantageous for us, as the opponent runs Crunch and Earthquake. They're going to need to full send an Earthquake. We correctly shield the Earthquake again. We're going to throw 4 counters and the next Icy Wind. Is the opponent willing to 2-shield the lead? If the answer is yes, they must be double weak to Poliwrath. The opponent does shield that up. I very rarely play out the 2-shield in the lead, but I think I'm just going to commit to Poliwrath. The opponent bait with the Crunch, but no bait. We'll be saving this opponent's fate. We throw 4 more counters and the Icy Wind, which is going to be huge overkill. And we're going to need to pivot, as the opponent probably brings in their 1 Poliwrath answer. The opponent waiting at the clock. Are you triple weak to Poliwrath? The opponent sends out Cresselia. We bank the Icy Wind, pivot out into Drapion, and the opponent sends out the stupid Tin Can. PV Pokes, #1 ranked pick, behind on energy. We fire after Crunch. We get the defense drop. Drapion, my channel mascot, absolutely smelling blood now. This game is pretty much over, as Skuntank will be beating Cresselia in the Zero Shield. The opponent doesn't get the debuff with an overfarm. Fire off 1 further Crunch, which gets Registeel down below half health. We're then going to throw 2 more Poison Stings, throw the Crunch on the CMP tie. Get that Registeel out of here when Cresselia does return. Drapion still not done, able to reach 1 further Crunch again on the CMP tie. Crunch does around half Cresselia's health. The opponent fires off the Grass Knot. Grass Knot is resisted, but of course going to knock out from this range. I thought about being super annoying, sending out Poliwrath, firing off the Icy Wind, then Sherlam Skunk, but instead I send out Skunk and the opponent concedes the match. So those were the battles with my ever favourite team in the entire world, Poliwrath Double Dark Poison in the Open Ultra League. If you need a strong team, I highly recommend this. You can see so many variants of the team with other fighters or anti-ground such as Swampert, Machamp, Hitmontop, you name it. We've got it on the channel, so there's plenty of footage for you to watch through. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, link to the battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.